Agenda for the day. We're going to start with approval of the June 2025 minutes. So I will entertain a motion unless there's any changes.
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes as presented.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Condor. Do I have a second?
I will do a second to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Commissioner Perullo. All those in favor of approving the June minutes signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Say no. Hearing none, the minutes are approved. We'll go ahead and approve the agenda for today. There are no changes. I just want to highlight that on number 5, real estate, we don't have anything under that agenda item, so we'll just skip through that. But otherwise, everything should be the same. So I would entertain a motion for approval of today's agenda.
Move to approve today's agenda.
Thank you, Commissioner Izumi. Do I have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Perullo, thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those no, say no. Hearing none, so approved. We also get to move on to approving a new vice chair for our commission. And I guess do I need somebody to nominate other than me?
I don't think you.
Okay, I'm going to nominate somebody. Commissioner Izumi, we've spoken about this in the past, but this role really fills in when I'm unavailable, but also helps lead some of the other work that we do behind the scenes when it comes to audit committee and all the other pieces that we're working on. And so unless anybody else has another nomination, I would entertain a motion for, I guess, a second. I can nominate her. So is there a second for Commissioner Izumi to be our vice chair of the commission?
I'll second it.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Commissioner Condor.
Doesn't want to do it.
Exactly.
It's really a great job. All right, all those in favor of Commissioner Izumi, excuse me,
Opposed.
becoming the commission's vice chair signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, no. All right. Welcome. Thank you. Thank you for your service.
Speech.
Great. Now we're going to move on to our public comment portion of the agenda. This is a great opportunity for those who want to speak about anything generally to come up, and we also have folks on Zoom. I forgot to mention that earlier, but we are streaming on Zoom. So if we have folks on there who want to provide public comment, we limit it to 3 minutes, and just come up and state your name and where you're from and go ahead and provide comment. And Katie is going to help us navigate the list of folks.
Great. Thank you, Chair Hill, Director Sumption, members of the commission. We have currently 2 people signed up virtually and 2 people in person. So we'll start with the folks who are here in person and then move to our virtual participants. So I will call your names and then you can come up here and I will start the timer. So you'll see the timer on the screen and here, and then we'll move forward. So first up, we have Gabe, and then second will be Jessica. So Gabe, if you want to come up first.
Greetings, Commission, Director Sumption. My name is Gabe Shuships. I am a citizen of the Confederated Tribes of the Umatilla Indian Reservation. Today I live in Portland, Oregon. For the last roughly 10 years, I've been working with the Friends of Tryon Creek, cooperative association at Tryon Creek State Natural Area. For the last 5 years, I've been the executive director. I think today we really wanted to drive out I'm sure this is an issue not on the agenda. Thinking about the parking fee. Just wanted to share a little bit about why we're not in support of it. I'd start out by saying we have a very strong relationship with Oregon State Parks. We almost have a model public-private partnership. We have a staff of 11 We serve the greater Portland metro area. We, in our role, are able to bring in a large amount of capacity and resources. We have $1 million restoration grant from the Portland Clean Energy Foundation. We bring in resources that benefit the natural area. We complement the work that Oregon State Park does on site. And I think the main communities that we're thinking of, relationships that we've stewarded that are generally outside of the zip code, schools, other nonprofits, folks who are coming to the park a little bit less and who the parking fee will impact the most. I think we recognize that the fees are an issue for some, others less as much. We're thinking, I think, big picture of what this will look like down the road, and also recognize the financial position that we're all in here supporting parks. So really, this trip by myself and our board chairs is really about a little bit of FaceTime, education. We're obviously very much in support of the work and proud of the work that we do collectively. But just today, I think thinking about what we're able to do, we'll feel some of those impacts. We recently built or are kind of finalizing the build on a $2.6 million education pavilion in the park. We have a grand opening this Saturday, the 20th. We'd love to see you all, especially Commissioner Zumi and Commissioner Perillo, who are in the area. We expect this pavilion to bring a lot of positive public attention to the park, build more future park stewards, connect folks to the area. This is a pavilion that was built in the indigenous architecture style of a Chinook and plank house. That will allow us to meet our program participants, which we serve about 30,000 youth and families every year. So I appreciate everyone's time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shuships.
Jessica, you are next.
Hi.
Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioners, Director Sumption, and staff who's here today. I am Jessica Green. I'm the chair of Friends of Tryon Creek. I'm here today, you just heard from our executive director, but I'm here today to introduce myself and highlight the importance of the work that's being done by Friends of Tryon Creek in direct partnership with OPRD, and to start a conversation about how we can continue to work together to expand the capacity of state parks through public-private partnerships like this. As some of you may know, our organization was founded on a community-wide effort to save the area from development in 1969, which led to the formation of the park in 1970. And since then, we've engaged in public-private partnerships with this shared purpose of connecting and caring for this cherished space. So those of you who've been, Tryon is a really magical place that offers an escape into 645 acres of forest within the urban boundaries of our state's largest city. It's also located between some of the highest income households in our state. Historically, it was those neighbors who mostly accessed the natural area. In recent years, under the leadership of Gabe Shuships and his staff, this narrative has drastically changed. Through intentional partnerships, free programming, building a diverse team and board, and a renewed mission and advocacy, Friends of Tryon Creek has opened up this forest to people who have traditionally felt unwelcome, unsafe, and weren't able to get there. This access will continue to expand thanks to the new education pavilion within Tryon that will bring accolades, cultural awareness, and expand educational programming. On top of that, Friends has secured $1 million from Portland Clean Energy's fund recently to fund restoration work in collaboration with OPRD. I understand, like so many of our public agencies, that OPRD's budget forecasts can feel very dire, and there's a need to look at additional sources of revenue. I urge you, as you look to the future, to please consider the financial benefit that public-private partnerships like FOTC brings to the shared work in caring for our state parks. I understand that while these funds do not directly impact OPRD's bottom line all the time, in the last year alone, $800,000 was invested into programming and restoration of Tryon in partnership with you. And as Gabe has already done so, I am really excited to be here today in person to invite you to our public opening of this education pavilion. It's a very unique space in our city and Portland metro area, and it would be lovely to see you there. If you can't make it, please reach out so we can give you a personal tour. I am personally deeply honored to be part of this work and organization and look forward to celebrating the impact that Friends of Tryon Creek in partnership with OPRD is having on building a more equitable park system. So thank you, and I look forward to future conversations.
Thank you, Ms. Green. Appreciate you coming up over here today.
Yeah, thank you.
So now we will move to our online comments. And first up, we'll start with Tamalee. And if you hold on just a second, Tamalee, I will make sure that they can see you.
Testing my audio.
Yes, we can hear you. And we will start the timer, and you're welcome to go ahead.
Thank you. Thanks for giving me time to speak. My name is Tamalee Weissman, and I'm a biology professor at Lewis and Clark College, which is right across the street from the natural area. I'm also a community member. I live nearby, and I drive by Tryon Creek State Natural Area every day, twice. I use it on a regular basis. And I also am representing a large population of undergraduate college students right here at Lewis and Clark who also use the area regularly, not only for activities and relaxation and learning about the environment, but also for education, for their classwork and for research. They regularly pop back and forth to the natural area, and we all use it in a number of different valuable ways. Much of this usage would disappear with the enactment of the fees, and so I'm here to speak on behalf of that. This is not a destination park that people I represent come to for a full day, pay a fee, and leave. These are not full day users. The area, it's right in the middle of an urban environment. And the park or the area is integrated with bits and pieces of our busy days. We'll stop by, maybe go for a walk on the way to work, or go and have lunch there with colleagues. Students will do the same. And a $10 fee is not appropriate for that type of usage. And so it would completely change who uses the park. All of that usage would be prevented with the fee. We just wouldn't stop by anymore. And so what that means is that the fee would really change who uses the area and how valuable it is as a resource to the local community. And I wanted to make sure that that perspective was presented at the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Weisserman. I appreciate it.
And Chip, you are now free to share your comments.
Okay, are you ready for me?
Go
And-
for it.
Please go ahead.
And can you hear me? That's the first question of the day.
You sure can.
Okay, great. All right, my name's Chip Corbett. I live in Lake Oswego. I am a resident and a dog owner. So I go to Tryon Creek very, very frequently. And I think I've hiked over every trail that they had from any of the different entrances within the park. Now, I have been fortunate in that up to this point, I haven't had to pay a fee. So I could afford to go to the park 2 to 3 times a week, take a small trip with my dog and come back out, which has been great. There appears to be an option to buy a $50 2-year pass, which I have no problem with, except it's not exactly obvious. One cannot buy that online. It seems like you have to go to a park like Tryon Creek and get that. I don't mind paying that, but $10 a day would be prohibitive, and there will be unintended consequences should that parking fee be enacted. Access to the park is somewhat difficult. Introducing a station to make the payment might be a problem. This could back up traffic onto the main road, Terwilliger Boulevard, that runs in the front of the park. In addition to walking my dog, I'm also a cyclist. So I go up Terwilliger Trail and then down the street on Terwilliger Park at high speed. When people don't park in the main parking, they use the streets for parking, and that impinges on the bike lane, and thus this could lead to collisions with bicycles. Somebody opens their door, not looking through the mirror, bicycle moving at 40 miles an hour is upon them right away. That would be a bad interaction. In addition to that, those who know where the various entrances to the parks are would then begin parking where they don't have to pay the fee, which would be in various neighborhoods around the periphery of the park. That could lead to overcrowding in those neighborhoods, which could be problematic. So in general, I am opposed to the $10 a day fee. That's my comment, and thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Corbett.
Thank you. And I will send you a link to purchase the annual, either 12-month or 24-month permit. It can be purchased online and then mailed to your home. So thank you so much for your comment. And now we will move. I do have one person who is online with a phone number. So if your phone number ends in 517, you can unmute and then proceed with your comment. You may have to hit *6 to unmute. And that may be one of our staff people who are also available on the phone. So I believe that is it for public comment, Chair Hill. No.
Thank you. And I do want to take a moment to address the folks that made comments on behalf of Tryon Creek State Park, but then also generally about these fees. This was really hard for us. We represent the entire state, and there's folks that live along the Southern Oregon coast who are going to be impacted by a new $10 fee all the way up the coast and inland. And it's not something that we want to do. We would love for these state parks to be free and open and limit the barriers as much as we can for everybody to be able to enter these parks. We are struggling with our budget, which is lottery funded, and we have the option to close parks, or we have the option to generate revenue. And we've gone through a number of actions beyond just day use fees to try to reduce that number as much as we can, saving, I think, $17 million over the biennium, but we are still forecasting a $15 million shortfall. And so while this is painful and hard, we also know that if we don't do this, then there's going to be major ramifications across the state for our state park system. And so we made the hard decision to implement a $10 fee at a number of state parks across the state. And you know, it's only for cars. And so I do want to address that, you know, folks who bike in, who walk in, who take a bus in, won't have to pay that fee. And there is an option for an annual fee payment of $30 or a biannual for $50 every 2 years. And we appreciate that will be hard for some people. But we are all in this together in trying to maintain and operate our state park system. And so we welcome partnerships like the amazing partnership we have had over decades with Tryon Creek, the Friends of Tryon, and hope that we can brainstorm and continue to work on restoration projects as well as other pieces that are needed within that state park, but across the state to help alleviate some of these burdens that we do face moving forward with this budget crisis. And so with that, I don't know if anybody else on the commission has anything else they want to say, but know that we also are in this with you, and this is painful. This isn't something that we are joyous about at all. So we are trying to solve a problem when we have very limited options. So, all right, with that, On that high note, let's move on to our director's update. I'll go ahead and turn it over to Lisa.
We'll go straight into legislative end of session with Katie.
Well, before that, then, I think I do want to take some time,
Oh.
since Lisa has nothing positive to share about positive news about Lisa. Our amazing director is amazing, and it's finally being recognized at the national level for all the work that she does, not only within our own state, but to educate folks across the country on best practices as well as collaboration on how to manage their state park systems. And she's been recognized by the, I hope I get this right, National Association of State Park Directors as the Director of the Year, and received an award last week in West Virginia for that. And I just wanted to make sure that we showed everybody the video of it. Unfortunately, we don't have a video of her face receiving the award because she was very surprised. But as we all know, parks are going through a really challenging time at the national level, but also at the state level across the country. And as I mentioned, Lisa has been a really great asset and resource for folks across the country in these meetings and other venues. And I think it just helps to recognize all of that and the work that she continues to do for our state. So anyway, let's roll the movie.
All right, I gotta make sure I share audio or we're gonna.
They're so proud of this. We were at our exec team retreat and they were filming and I didn't know. I was like, why can't I go for a walk with you? And they're like, get away from me.
We are incredibly lucky to live in the beautiful state of Oregon, but Oregonians
No, please don't rewind some of that.
Not a good-
Well, the best part is when this
are even more fortunate to have Lisa Sumption at the helm of our state park system, managing and protecting our most valued assets. Over the last 2 decades, Lisa has provided steadfast and humble leadership for the organization through some incredibly trying times. She strategically problem solves and fights hard to protect the services and assets we all have become accustomed to when visiting our state parks. She also prioritizes planning for the future, ensuring generations after us get to experience the same beautiful places in meaningful ways. In my opinion, there's no better public servant in this state than Lisa, and we are so grateful she has dedicated her talents to serving the people of the great state of Oregon.
Director Lisa Sumption has led the Oregon Parks and Recreation Department for more than 10 years and has served the agency for 18 years. She has successfully guided the agency through multiple crises, ranging from pandemics to devastating wildfires. Lisa leads with grace, humility, and a heart for service, and with a focus on creating a strategic vision for the future of OPRD. To truly understand Lisa's impact, you need to hear from the people who serve alongside her.
Hi, Lisa. Congratulations on your award. You're so deserving. Thank you for your service and what you do for us.
Your care and the effort you put in with our staff and for the agency is recognized by all of us, and we really appreciate all the work that you do.
In the 36 years that I've served with Oregon State Parks, I have not seen another executive that is so connected to not only the elected officials, but staff at every level.
Some of the most challenging times and some of the best times, but nothing but empathy and praise. She is the face of fairness. It's all of us that are every person. Dear man, we have a scene team. And
through authentic leadership. It's a beautiful thing. We're very blessed to have you as our leader, and I'm blessed to have you as our leader individually as well.
I want to thank you so much for everything you do for our organization, for everything you do for the staff that work here, and for everything you've done for me. for the last 15+ years. You're an incredible leader and so deserving of this award. Thank you.
You deserve it. I mean, you are so deserving of so many things, but this right here, you've hit it big time. You are doing big things for the state of Oregon and for our wonderful agency.
Congratulations, Lisa, on receiving the NASPD Distinguished Service Award. You lead with your heart, whether it's talking with rangers, visitors, or legislators. Your authenticity and integrity bring people in, and they want to be a part of your team. Your ability to connect with people is your superpower.
Overall, just congratulations on the award, and I'm so very proud to be part of your team.
Congratulations, Lisa.
Congratulations, Lisa. We're proud of you, Lisa.
Do you have anything you want to say?
It's so easy to say that it's the team, you guys, like to have, you all say it all the time, but like to have a team that actually is so selfless and so loving and they care about what they do. Prior to coming here 18 years ago, I worked with 38 different state agencies, and I tell the governor's office every chance I can, I will never go anywhere else. This is my last public agency. This is where in my career, I've never met a group of people that is so committed to what they do and care so much about what they do and each other. Like we joke all the time. Yeah, every human has an ego, but we come together and we argue things pretty heavy and pretty hard, and we have lots of different opinions, but we do what's best for state parks. And I couldn't be more proud to serve amongst all of you. And you think it's me, it's actually you, but thank you for embarrassing me now twice. Now I can breathe, but you still made me cry. Like, I don't know how they did that, any of it, honestly, because there's so many people in there. Like I left that night going, what else do I not know about? Not great. But thank you. That was, wow.
Yeah. Well, it's an incredible honor for the state too. So thank you. Thank you for your continued service. Let's go ahead and move to the next piece of our director's update, which is the legislative end of session report.
Okay, so Katie Gauthier here with agenda item 3B, legislative update. So Chair Hill, Director Assumption, members of the commission. I wanted to start, let's make sure. Okay, just to give you a, this is not, let's go. It's working, sorry.
Thank them for me. Happy to be in touch with them.
No. Should have known that share. Screen two. Let me get it to share that. Oh, there we go. Okay. Now it's gonna do it. Okay, sorry about that. So this is the legislative update post the session. I was here with you in June and we had almost wrapped up the legislative session, but this is the final, just wrapped up the session. Sunny Day was a couple weeks after our last commission meeting. There were a total of over 3,000 bills. We monitored just under 300. 72 of those were enacted. And in your packets, you have the full list of all of the bills that we were watching and kind of what happened with those. Our agency supported bills, our proactive legislation. We had 3 this session. The employee address disclosure bill was passed. This will be the one that allows our employees to substitute their home address for their office address, and that will go into effect January 1st. The Ocean Shore permitting will allow us to change some of the permitting requirements so that we can have a general authorization permit and flexibility around the fees for permitting. That one passed and will also go into effect January 1st. We'll do rulemaking around that, and we're in the process of coming up with some draft rules, and we'll have a rule advisory committee around that. So you will see more about that one in the coming meetings. And then Senate Bill 838, which we've talked a lot about, is the procurement exemption, and that one goes into effect 91 days after Sunny Day. So that is September 26th. And we will see more about that later in the meeting. And then there were some other bills that I just wanted to highlight that were enacted that have a specific direct impact on the agency. House Bill 2232 we've talked about is the ATV rulemaking. This is the bill that directs OPRD to do rulemaking around ATV sound and safety equipment instead of DEQ and ODOT. So you have that on your rulemaking agenda today. That one was effective immediately. And then House Bill 3190 is a change to the special assessment for historic properties. And that one is effective September 26th, also a rulemaking item. And then Senate Bill 179 is the continuation of the recreational immunity changes that were made during the short legislative session last session. It makes those permanent. So it doesn't take effect until January, but it's a continuation of changes that were made at the prior session that will last until January. So the changes continue. And we were very grateful that one went through. As far as things that did not make it, House Bill 3209 was not an agency bill. Oregon Recreation and Park Association led the effort on this. It would have increased RV registration fees, which OPRD would have received additional funding. It was in a number, when the transportation package was being considered during the legislative session, there were a number of amendments that included this package, but it was that because that bill didn't pass, it was not included in the final end of session funding. And I will talk about the special session a little bit at the end, but it is not included in the transportation package from the special session. So we are not anticipating any additional revenue from RV registration fees at this time. We had spoken about Senate Bill 565, which would have directed the agency to do a study about financial sustainability, and then also transferred the state capital state park back to DAS. That bill died in the Ways and Means Committee. We are in conversations about some portion of that, looking for the 26th short session around the state capital state park. And then the Oregon Coast Trail bill would have required the agency to dedicate specific funding toward the Oregon Coast Trail, and that one also died in Ways and Means. It would have specified $1 million of our lottery funding directed specifically to the Oregon Coast Trail bill. And then Lake Owyhee Road, this would have required that the agency lead an effort and negotiate with the federal government around the Lake Owyhee Road. It is a county road. It's not a state-owned road. So that one died in the Ways and Means Committee, but we are part of a work group that is led by a regional solutions team to come up with some solutions for the road around Lake Oahe. So there was a work group created, but it didn't take legislation, and we are part of the solution for that. So up next, there is a transportation special session. I think so. There was a thought that it was going to wrap up today, but you probably saw that that's not the case. So there will be September legislative days at the end of this month, and likely a conclusion of the special session at that point. It does not include RV registration fees. The only specific agency issue for that will be because there's a gas tax increase. If that passes, we would get additional ATV grant funding from the fuel tax. Legislative days will have likely some information about what would come up in the 2026 short session. We don't have agency proactive legislation necessarily for the 2026 session. Agencies don't have an opportunity to introduce legislation, but we can work with legislators if there are specific ideas that we want to promote. But legislators have a very limited number of bills for the 26th session. They each get 2. Committees do get some, and presiding officers get additional. So there will be a definite limited number of bills from that perspective. Happy to take if there are any questions about the session or the upcoming 2026 session.
Don't see any,
Great.
Katie.
Thank you.
For that presentation. Next, we turn to 3C, boating facilities.
I don't think I'm very good at it. Yeah. Oh, it's coming. There you go.
Good morning, Chair Hill, fellow members of the commission. For the record, my name is Guy Erdrich. I'm the Valley Region Director, and I'm providing an update to you on some of the boating facilities in the Portland metropolitan area, with the understanding that the commission received some concerning remarks about the condition of these facilities, so wanted to provide an operational perspective of where they're at. So the 3 facilities in question, just for reference, and some of these properties are smaller and you may not be familiar with them. Wapato State Greenway is on the Multnomah Channel on Sabi Island, Government Island near the Portland Airport on the Columbia River, and Rooster Rock State Park all have marine boating facilities. So diving in a little bit deeper, Wapato State Natural Area, it's about a 200-acre park, primarily utilized by dog walkers, nature viewers, bird watchers, things of that nature. It has a 2-mile path throughout the property, as well as a boating dock on Multnomah Channel. The primary uses of this facility are folks accessing the property by a small gravel parking lot area with a picnic shelter, and CXT secondarily would be by boat along Multnomah Channel. The condition of this facility, as you can probably see from the pictures here, is relatively dated. It was put into operation around 50 years ago, and we had to suspend access from the upland, the ramp, essentially connecting it to the land because 2 of the main trusses on that gangway broke. Looking at the asset holistically, it's really met its life expectancy. The piers that were put into place are all wooden creosote, and it's just how much effort we're able to put into this facility, knowing that there's a pretty significant, substantial lift here to get it up to modern standards. The only reason, in my opinion, that it's been able to operate for as long as it has is because it's on Multnomah Channel and not on the main stem of the Columbia River, where the currents would be much stronger. Government Island is a relatively large property, just under 2,000 acres. It's owned by the Port of Portland, but it's been under management agreement with Oregon State Parks for several years now. You can see the 205 bridge cuts across the western side of the property, but the only access to this recreation site is by boat. So the docking facilities are the primary recreational feature. You'll see there's two here, one to kind of the center of the screen and then one to the far right-hand side. The one on the right-hand side is in good condition. And the one on the left-hand side, unfortunately, was damaged during a high water event in February of this last year. The reality with this particular dock feature is there was a design imperfection. You'll see in the middle image there that the wave attenuator or debris boom was built out into the river as far as the outermost dock. However, the current from this particular section of the river kind of comes across the river and hits that broad section of that larger dock. So the incident that occurred in February essentially removed the center section connecting the outermost dock to the innermost dock. The innermost dock is still functional. The outer section of the dock is not. People can still use it as a mooring site. They just can't actually walk to the upland where there's a pit toilet. There's also significant decay of the wave attenuator. So the amount of debris that can hit this boating facility and the amount of wave action hitting this dock facility has increased with the degradation of that site. And then lastly, and probably one of the more complicated sites is Rooster Rock State Park. So this has been a challenge for boating facilities really since the inception of the facility. Rooster Rock, just to take a step back really quick, is a large property along the Columbia River. Its primary uses are picnicking, beach access. It has a disc golf course, hiking trails. So considered a full service day use park. It does require a day use parking fee, whereas the others do not. Looking at the boating facilities specifically, there's a channel here around Ladderell Creek that boaters would take up to the boat ramp area. And then there's a boat basin where the original design was intended for folks to be able to moor in the park and then to be able to access all the recreational features within the property. Because of the design utilizing Ladderell Creek and the amount of flow that goes through that property, it became sedimented in really within the first year or two. Dredging of this channel is cost prohibitive at about $1 million, and the life expectancy of that solution would be between 1 and 2 years, depending on the river flows. So this is really an unsustainable feature where there's no real answer. We are exploring the replacement of this dock access, at least to be able to put it out on the main channel of the Columbia. But that again is another full scale, redevelopment of that site and going to be relatively costly. So, again, the problems with these three sites are relatively straightforward. However, the solutions are not. Each one is going to require a substantial financial commitment on behalf of the agency. And given our circumstance and the conversation of reimagining our facilities that we had yesterday, we're looking at each one of these sites a little bit differently than we have in the past and having some hard conversations about where we need to put our dollars. There is one potential partnership with Rooster Rock in particular that's probably worth noting. The Columbia River Estuary Partnership is looking at a back channel restoration project to essentially increase the flow and reestablish a back channel that will push more current through the Ladderell Creek channel, which could potentially open up without the need for like supplemental dredging to keep that boating facility open. So that's in concept form. It's not something that we're going to anticipate for the next several years to get to a point where we look at actually, development of that, but it is something that we're going to be keeping an eye on to see how far that project evolves. And with that, I just wanted to be available for questions and make sure that you all had all the operational information as to what those challenges look like and be available for questions.
Any questions? Comments? All right. Thank you for keeping us updated on this, Guy. Appreciate it. All right. Moving on to the budget. Our favorite.
Oh, thank you.
Being on.
Yeah. I'm happy.
Okay. Good morning. Hi, Sarah. Chair Hill, Vice Chair Azumi, and members of the commission. I'm Sarah Head. I'm the Chief Financial Officer for Parks. And my goal today is to talk to you about our budget gap, as Chair Hill mentioned, and give you an update on it. When the budget team came to you in the fall of last year, they discussed a $30 million gap, which obviously was not viable. So a bunch of work was done so that when the legislatively adopted budget was built, it was built with a gap between revenue and expense for the biennium of 15 million. And that is a sustainable situation for this biennium because of our beginning fund balance. Okay, how's that? The beginning fund balance is one-time money though, so it can't sustain us. It just helps us in this biennium. Then if we look at the colored boxes, the orange is the expenses and the darker green is the revenue. So what we're doing in all these conversations that you're having about Financial Foundations Initiative and reimagining parks and all of that is we're trying to change the relationship of the expense box and the current revenue box. We want that darker green box to get bigger or the expense to shrink, right? And so lots of additional efforts are underway. You had an entire work session yesterday to talk about that. And our team, I think, did a great job giving you detail. I watched it and I was so impressed. I thought they're going to be up to speed for my presentation. So the 15 million was when the budget was built. And when my predecessor, Rebecca, presented to you in June, she said that lottery for 25-27 was not looking good. That was true, and it deteriorated a little more since then. So what has happened is that 15 already went to a gap of 21 for us. And I'm going to talk about some good and some bad, and we'll get to the end and you'll see how this turns out. You're going to be curious to stick with me. But just know that while we can't control the lottery, we do have a reliance on it at this time. And so that's part of what we're trying to do is minimize our reliance on an income stream that is struggling. And when I say it's struggling, let me show you what I'm talking about. It's not just declining from where we built our budget, it's declining over the prior biennium. So we built the budget at 106. And the current state forecast that came out in August showed that parks would get 99.9 million to support operations. Right now, this is operational budget. I'm excluding the LGGP grant program. So we're just talking about our operations, running parks, mowing, paying our staff, doing all that kind of stuff. The issue with that 99.9 million is it's less money than parks received in the 23-25 biennium. So we have all of these factors. We don't just have that percentage shift in lottery, but we also have a decline overall in lottery. And I don't believe that when the November forecast comes out, that will remedy itself. So I think that's something that we have to be planning and adapting. Unless you think I'm wrong, which great. I'd love to be. So let's talk about some good things, okay? Things that cope this gap that we've been talking about and the commission has helped with, in January of 2025, the parking fee permit, a bunch of parks had it and it was at $5. That went up to 10. Also, increases in overnight fees occurred, $3, $4, and $5 per night, depending on the type of rental. Those changes were built into our legislatively adopted budget and reflected. That's how the gap got down to 15 million. Okay. Then we've continued the work. Some things we just couldn't do fast enough, and there was all sorts of work to be done. So July of this year, 2025, we started charging out-of-state surcharges. Okay. And this was a pretty big change because previously surcharges were only on RVs for overnight. So now we're charging them on all overnights and also the daily parking permits. Okay. And the work continues. Future changes. This October 1st thing is a little tricky because we are piloting right now. And I'll tell you about that. So we're removing the waivers at 21 additional parks. And the numbers are a little different because it depends on if you're saying how many are going to get the new technology or how many, but what that does is it means that 21 new parks will charge the daily parking permit fee like the others have been. In addition, January of 2026, the annual parking permit will go up to $60. At this point, if you want to go 3 days, it's a break even. So it's going to go up a little bit more. And then there will also be an out-of-state surcharge on the annual permit because right now there isn't. So that's a change that we're making. The 24-month permit will be discontinued. And then this next change, I called it spring of 26 because that's when it's occurring, but technically it is an October 1st change, and you discussed it yesterday, that the overnight fees are going to increase at 29 parks. And what that looks like, regardless of the vocab that you call it, is during peak season and on weekends, people will pay more. So I would pay more on a Friday night than I would pay on a Wednesday night. Okay. All these 2 slides are an unbelievable amount of work for our teams. I have been to so many meetings, worked with so many park specialists, and I am impressed that an agency that had not changed fees in so long is so creative and collaborative and really doing great work. Really, really great. Completely impressed. So I just want to honor the work that our staff is doing and also recognize, as Chair Hill said, we're not enjoying the work necessarily, but it definitely has to be done to work on the gap. So you're wondering, did it work? Right? Well, I've got one more piece of bad news in my presentation. Okay, so I'm going to summarize it in a table and I'll talk you through it. COLAs, cost of living adjustments, they were mentioned yesterday, but not yet quantified. Preliminary costing looks like it'll be 7.4 million for our agency for the biennium. Okay. So what I've done here is laid it out a little differently than you've seen sometimes. The budget team and I are working to bring you information, looking at lottery and looking at other funds separately because they're going to move differently, and one we can control and one we certainly can't. So when we look at lottery, we've broken things out a little bit so you can see the components. The revenue in the column for lottery and LGGP, those 2 net, that's where we get about 6.1 with some rounding. And then our staff is mostly split half and half between lottery and other funds. So we've allocated the cost of the COLAs 50-50 here. It would vary slightly. So what that shows us is since we put our legislatively adopted budget together and finalized everything, lottery funds deteriorated 9.9 million. Okay. So there's my bad news. Then let's go over and let's talk about the good news. In other funds, with the fee work that we have done, preliminary forecasting very conservatively is showing $16.7 million in revenue. Okay. I was also cleared this morning to tell you that based on what we're seeing in the QR code sample, our revenue analyst thinks that number is going to go up when I come back to you in November. Okay. So we were conservative and the first testing is going really well. It's possible that technology or managing your children while you're trying to do something has been a barrier. And we've removed that barrier by improving the technology. So we'll see. So in other funds, we see that revenue. Then, unfortunately, there are factors around us besides lottery. We will no longer be getting $2.2 million in transfers for rest areas. And I think there's probably another 2 million there that may vary because of.
I think it's 4.
It's 4. Okay, so that number is probably going to go to 4 because a partner agency is having some budget trouble. Okay, so that wasn't ideal, but we went through and said, okay, what do we think changed already? And then if we apply COLAs to this, to the other funds, that gives us a net improvement of 10.8 million for other funds. Okay, and I do expect that number to go up when I come back to you in November. We didn't want to be overly optimistic. And I think it was clear yesterday, but we don't have a month of QR code data and it's one park so far. It's just our pilot and we're testing it. So we'll see how that goes. So net, you can see how it turns out. We're $1 million better off essentially. So we went from 15 to 14. So I do hope to close that gap more in November, but I am conservative. I want to give you all the data that I have, and this is what we're seeing at this time. And the plan, as we communicate with you, would be to update you on this and show you lottery and other funds separate, kind of give you a consistent format, and then you'll just see the numbers changing. That was a lot of information. Okay. Let me check my notes. Yes, I told you the things. Questions?
And just to elaborate a little bit on that 2.2 million. So the Oregon Department of Transportation is where that's generating from with their financial troubles. They let us know 2 things. One won't hit us till next biennium. The one this biennium they called JR just after we were thinking we were almost okay, and they let us know that they're now going to cut money that they give us for paving. And it's closer to like 4. Oh, you text me. It's like 4 million.
Yeah.
So we're gonna reach back to see when or if they're whole, if there's any opportunity to get any of that back. But you can see there's just this thing, right? Like where it's out of our control. And then the other one is the next biennium, we receive a portion of the recreation vehicle fee, as well as the county and county parks too. That they're saying because they have to transfer that money over and it's so expensive for them to do so, that they will be charging us $800,000 a fiscal year, $1.6 million to give us our money. We don't charge the counties when we transfer it to them. So we'll continue to have conversation, but those are 2 more targets that we're going to be keeping our eye on, because everything you guys have done, I feel like we just keep going. I'm like, oh my goodness, we worked so hard. And how I literally grabbed Sarah Friday and Monday, and I was like, no, this has to be wrong. We did not work this hard to go this far.
Well, do everything you can to keep trying to claw back that money that others are trying to steal from us, in my opinion. But I know this is very hard work on behalf of the staff and to get to where we are, and we still have a lot more work to do. So keep brainstorming, and maybe we'll come up with some other magical fixes. But in the meantime, thank you. I know it's hard, and I know it's not what we want to see. So
I wish I could have brought you something else.
I know your positive attitude and smile just make this a lot easier to take. So thank you.
Great. Thank you.
And her first presentation, she's been here 5 months, and she's like, I can't tell you it any differently.
Sorry, we had to throw you in the deep end on this one.
No problem. Thank you so much.
Great job, Sarah.
All right, we are going to skip the real estate portion since we have nothing on the agenda for that, and move into community engagement with the State Natural Areas Program, Tillamook River Wetlands, and this is an action item.
I'm up and running. Chair Hill, Director Sumption, members of the commission. For the record, my name is Noel Batchelor. I'm the Central Natural Resource Specialist at headquarters and also the program lead for the State Natural Areas Program. I'm going to start off with a summary of the State Natural Areas Program for those of you that might not be up to speed on what this program is and what it does and what the commission's role is in it. And then I'll move on to the specific registration proposal at hand for the Tillamook River wetlands. Oregon is one of 39 states across the nation that have state natural areas programs. Ours is a fairly advanced, centralized, strategic system of state natural areas that's interdisciplinary, interagency, and in cooperation with private landowners as well. Other states have various incarnations of this. It's not standardized across the United States. And it has a long and storied history starting in 1973. In 1973, the State Natural Areas Preserves Act was passed as part of the legislative suite that also included Oregon's land use planning rules. And so they were kind of partners in it, but not exactly entirely tied together. And over the years, the program has been administered by the Nature Conservancy for a while and has had a couple of hiatuses in the long history. And then it was taken over by the Department of State Lands until 2012, when it was transferred to Oregon Parks and Recreation Department through legislation. And the main goals of the State Natural Areas Program are to provide sort of a museum of all the habitat types and species habitats that are present in the state, to provide representative examples of those habitat types for research, for interpretation, for recreation, and for public exposure. And the idea is that these state natural areas should be entirely voluntary. Any landowner may register their properties and participate in the system and may back out at any time. It also is a strategic planning effort that provides landowners with a systematic view of where properties are needed, what types of properties, what species are in need of preservation or of a reference site. So the program is also meant to be working hand in glove with the Federal Research Natural Areas System, which includes Forest Service, BLM, and in some cases, National Park Service properties as part of a comprehensive federal, state, local government, and private entity natural areas system and strategy. So the nuts and bolts of what this natural areas program contains are, first off, the natural areas plan, which is the outward facing outreach tool for reaching audiences that want to know more about natural areas, what's needed, where it's needed, what current representation is for all of the habitat types for research or outreach or interpretation purposes, and then the register itself. And the register is a GIS, it's a geographic information system, a mapping system that includes where all of these properties are located. And then there's a register file for all of the properties that says why it's important, where it is, who owns it. It includes background information on surveys for rare species, on the habitat condition, et cetera. And the State Natural Areas Plan is the part that everybody sees. The register is mostly just for internal purposes, but the plan is a snapshot in time that's published periodically. The last one that was published and approved by this commission was in 2015. We're due for another update in the near future, but the slide showing here is the cover of that State Natural Areas Plan, which is like a small book. It was a printed copy, a couple hundred pages long, with ecosystem elements and niches that need to be filled by the system. And I show that on this slide. So I don't know if it's legible at this scale, but on the right-hand side of this slide, you'll see an excerpt of the West Cascades ecoregion ecosystems. So every ecoregion in the state has a listing of habitat types that occur in that ecoregion. And then we want to find a representative of that type so that that is available for research, interpretation, and recreation. And you will see in this list here, for example, it says the Western hemlock types of habitats in the first column. The second column is where you can find that. in the world? Is that on a research natural area? Is it on a state park? Is it on private property, et cetera? The bold-faced items in this list are places for which we don't yet have a representative. There's no reference site yet assigned to that type to represent it. And this provides our partners with a place to look for what should be acquired, what could be preserved, what the priorities are for preservation of habitats and natural areas across the state. It's used extensively by the Forest Service and BLM in their internal planning processes for designation of their natural areas. So there are three main flavors of properties that are included in the register, and those are vanilla registered properties, which are those sites that have been actively pursued by an entity that owns land. They have come to us and asked to register their property, have it included actively in the state natural areas system. Then there are dedicated properties, which are those that go the extra mile. And these properties require an instrument of dedication that is filed with the county clerk for that property and becomes permanent until such time as it is either removed from the register by this commission or is otherwise invalidated for purposes of, for example, the habitat no longer is there because of a wildfire or an earthquake or something that invalidates that property. And then the last flavor here is passively designated natural areas. These are largely federal properties that we include in the register because they fulfill the need, although they are not formally in the system of natural areas. They're recognized for their contribution and for their representation of habitat types that are needed in the plan. This pie chart shows the distribution of those types. Dedicated is a tiny sliver. Most people don't want to go the extra mile to have their property filed with the county clerk and to have that relatively permanent system. Registered properties where people reach out to us and request to have their properties registered account for 18%. And the lion's share of properties are in that passive inclusion category. In the table on the right-hand side of this slide, you can see that the landowner with the most acres is the BLM, followed by the Forest Service, with hundreds of thousands of acres that have been passively incorporated into the strategy of the plan, not the legal part of the plan, but the strategy of the plan. And this is the distribution of those natural areas across the state. The green being those extra mile active dedication properties, the blue color being those that are passively incorporated, mostly from federal agencies, and then the turquoise color being those where people have come to us and asked to include the property in the natural areas plan and register. This slide shows an example. These are sites that have been registered actively in the State Natural Areas Program. This doesn't include any properties that have been passively included from federal government. And for the passive designations, they're mostly research natural areas. Some of them are areas of critical environmental concern. And then properties of certain NGOs like the Nature Conservancy, certain land trusts, the Wetlands Conservancy, their properties are also recognized as being compatible with the natural areas plan without formally having to produce paperwork. The list of dedicated properties is very short. There are only 11 properties that have ever been dedicated for the natural areas plan. A lot of these are owned by agencies. OPRD is one of the major landowners of state natural areas reserves. We have around 60 properties or portions of properties, blobs within properties that have been registered as state natural areas or dedicated. So why would somebody want to register their property? Why do they actively reach out to us to have their properties included on the register? The main reason is tax benefits. So certain NGOs, like nonprofits that are providing conservation benefits for properties like land trusts or the Nature Conservancy, can receive a tax benefit through the Oregon Department of Revenue's rules when they move their land from a formerly tax deferred situation into a higher tax category. For example, when they move property from exclusive farm use, which is at a lower tax rate, to open space, they would normally have to pay 5 to 10 years of the difference between those two tax rates multiplied by the number of years that they're required to pay back, which can be $50,000 to $100,000 in some cases. So properties, NGOs that are pursuing restoration who already have very tight budgets benefit from these further deferral of taxes. If they are disqualified from the program, or if they withdraw, those back taxes do again become due when they are removed from the program. What's the commission's role in this? So the commission is responsible for either finally approving or denying registration proposals, dedication proposals, also for deregistration or dededication of properties, and for provisional registrations of properties, which I will get to in the specific example of the Tillamook River wetlands that's to come. The commission also approves our snapshot state natural areas plans, such as the 2015 plan that I showed in a previous slide. Staff role in the state natural areas program is to manage the GIS and the registry files, to correspond with the county tax assessors so that the county tax assessors know about new registrations and about existing registrations, and to create commission briefs, make these presentations like today to present proposals from petitioners to include their natural areas. We also work with an interagency natural areas network to work on strategy, grants, et cetera, for mutual uplift of natural areas systems across Oregon and Washington primarily. Over the longer term, the program is getting kind of dated, been around since 1973. There's a need to consider things like climate change and redundancy of properties in the face of catastrophic wildfires, et cetera. Need for website upgrades, a new natural areas plan update, et cetera. That's not particularly relevant to the topic at hand. So with that, I will conclude the summary portion and would gladly answer any questions or comments about the State Natural Areas Program in general before moving on to the specific petition at hand.
Anybody have any questions? Kind of a unique program that we have to oversee and manage, but. Okay, go on.
All
with
right.
the specific piece. Yeah, it only comes up occasionally.
So the Tillamook River wetlands property is shown on the screen here. It's on the Tillamook River, and it was provisionally registered by the commission in 2020. Provisional registration is something for which we have rules that says if an entity like an NGO or even a private landowner is interested in registering their property, but certain restoration steps would be required before it's fully eligible for the register, they can have a temporary registration that allows them to move forward with their restoration and not be prohibited from participating in the program. So the property is shown here. It's largely wetland. If you'll see here on the north boundary, this is the Tillamook River. And this is a levee along the river with a road on top of it. And that prohibits tides from entering the wetland. Natural estuarine processes are blocked by this roadway and levee. The property is owned by North Coast Land Conservancy and is the restoration project is jointly managed with Tillamook Estuaries Partnership, a local nonprofit. They're working together on pursuing designs for restoration of the property and some spinoffs that have been surprises to them in the last few years that have come up as a result of their investigations into the opportunities there. As I said before, the commission approved the property for provisional registration in 2020. Provisional registrations are for a period of 5 years. At the end of 5 years, the requirement is that these properties come back to the commission for either renewal of the petition or renewal of the registration or termination at the commission's discretion. Here's some photos of the property. As you can see, it's largely a wetland system, mostly freshwater influence because of being cut off from the estuarine tides that would be normal in the site. And to get to the topic of spin-offs on this project that have resulted in some delays, the property is right here. This is Tillamook River Wetlands. I assume everybody can see my cursor. Doesn't look like it. The light blue patch near the center of the screen off of Burton Fraser Road is the property of interest. Burton Fraser Road itself was found to be compromised by tides and no longer suitable for the original thought, which was to breach that road and put a bridge over it so that the tidal reconnection could happen. They found out that that road was sinking, it was deteriorating, and it was not worth investment in a large bridge, in an expensive bridge in that location. So the preferred alternative became pursuing a road system that goes around. There's an existing road to the south called Eckloff Road. The traffic that's currently going across Burton Fraser Road could be rerouted through this other road system. The current road in Burton Fraser sometimes overtops with freshwater, and as I said before, is sinking, compromised, and failing. So in the long run, the Eckloff Road would be a more sustainable alternative. It's going to require a lot of work to do all of the engineering required to reroute the road system, a lot of public outreach, stakeholder engagement, et cetera. So that's part of the reason for delay in the progress of the project. So what has happened since 2020 when this project was registered? There have been a couple of OWEB actions, the Oregon Watershed Enhancement Board, OWEB. There's a conservation easement that is now in effect for that property. The Tillamook River Wetlands Habitat Reserve Management Plan has been completed. 60% designs for the wetland restoration project, including hydrological modeling, fish passage analysis, setback dike assessment, tide gate analysis, riverbank restoration scoping, bridge and culvert type size location assessments. Those are at the 60% stage now. There's been a grant award for stakeholder outreach, and then $1 million grant was awarded from the National Coastal Resilience Fund to develop more complete designs and to assess the Eckloff Road redirection. So this has largely already been covered in previous slides, but there have been things beyond the North Coast Land Conservancy and Tillamook Estuary Partnerships control in finding these complications that have come out in the last 5 years. The complicated infrastructure, the fundraising components, permitting, design, all of those phases take a lot of time, and complications have realistically been justified in taking more than 5 years to implement. The work that's remaining to do is from 25 to 28, restoration design needs to complete to 100%. The Eckloff Road realignment, engineering and design work needs to be completed. And then fundraising for implementation needs to be completed so that funds for implementation are available to do the work. It looks like the window of opportunity for construction could be 28 to 30. So the new timeline, 5-year renewal, could potentially get through implementation. The provisional registration, as I said before, is a 5-year period process. We're at that 5-year check-in phase where the commission can decide to either renew this registration provisionally for another 5 years or to terminate. I believe, and the Natural Areas Program staff in conjunction with the Oregon Biodiversity Information Center believe that this project still has merit. It's still going somewhere. It's not in jeopardy of being completely lost. So we still think that it should be provisionally registered if that is agreeable to the commission. And with that, are there any questions, comments, concerns?
Anything from the commissioners? Okay.
Yeah, Chair Hill, I'll ask one.
Yes, please
So
go ahead.
is the point, sorry, I probably missed this because It's a lot of technical stuff that I don't necessarily understand. Is the purpose to reestablish tidal influence and
Yes.
remove the barrier then?
Yeah, that's
Right.
correct.
Okay. That's like, I get the roads deteriorating, but what's the point is what I was getting at. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Chair Hill, I'd like to
Recuse
chime in. I recuse myself from this as my firm has done a lot of work on this Eckloff Road and Burton Fraser for over 20 years. I've worked with Tillamook County directly on the engineering studies on this and fixing these. Eckloff's no good road either. That's a nightmare of a road too. So, but yes, I've been very involved in this project for many, many years. So
Okay.
I'm going to recuse myself.
Thank you, Commissioner Condor, for bringing that up. I would entertain a motion on this, and the motion would be for the commission to renew the provisional restoration to allow for another 5-year period of restoration.
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Spence. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Cribbins. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. And we have one who's recused himself. So thank you. Thank you very much, Noel.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. Something a little more fun, some grants, giving money away.
Can we apply for a grant?
Yeah.
For like 15 million?
No.
Let's see here.
Don't you know I'm busy? Stop sending sense.
Okay.
So.
All right, go ahead, Michelle.
Okay, thanks. Chair Hill, Director Sumption, members of the commission. For the record, I'm Michelle Scalise, the manager of the Grants and Community Program section at OPRD. I am going to be presenting the next 3 briefs in your packet, and I'm starting with 6B, local government grant large recommendations. So the background on this, the Local Government Grant Committee met July 29 through 31 in a hybrid meeting held in Salem. We missed you, Commissioner Spence, but you're doing great service here. There was a total request amount of 37 projects for just over $22 million. The committee reviewed and evaluated the projects with presentations and recommended 22 projects. And this is just showing the distribution of where the large grants would be awarded to if you approve this action throughout the state. And they did recommend what we had available is $15,707,853. So the action requested today is approval of the ranking and distribution of large grant awards as recommended by the Local Government Grant Advisory Committee. And if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer those.
Mingus Park?
Just a comment.
Yes,
because I was
please.
involved in the committee
Commissioner Spence.
for a couple of years anyway, and I've been a recipient and applicant. I just compliments to the team. OPRD staff really makes this an easy process and removes a lot of barriers, especially for smaller communities. You see everything from polished PowerPoint presentations to a mom that's in her garage presenting an idea. And it's really amazing and dramatic, the impact that we have on these smaller communities. So good stuff. Kudos to Mark and the team and everybody else that makes it easy for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Spence. I'll pass that on to the team, and I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
Comment.
Commissioner Perula.
I just want to specifically call out item 6, the Cook Park Accessibility Dark Project. Oregon is working to become the first accessibility verified state for travel through Will the World. And there's been a lot of cohesive effort about improving accessibility. And I'm real excited because obviously this is along the Tualatin River. So I'm real delighted to see that project on the list.
That's great. Yes, Commissioner Perillo, we do really emphasize the importance of accessibility, and that's something that we need to see in all of our projects. So thank you for that comment.
Any other comments, questions for Michelle? All right, I would entertain a motion on this to approve these grants. Pull up the language.
I'm happy to submit a motion to approve the grants as presented.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Perillo. Do I have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Izumi with a second. All those in favor of approving to award funds as they are available and detailed on the attached spreadsheet, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. Seeing none, the grants are approved.
Thank you. Okay, we're on to item 6C, the local government grant small grant recommendations. And for the record, again, Michelle Scalise, the OPRD. The small grants are ranked and evaluated by a staff committee. So grant staff do look at this. There were a total of 14 requests this time, totaling $1,182,223. You will notice that 13 projects were recommended. We usually do try and stretch and make all of those recommendations, but there was a very large discrepancy between project rank number 13 that scored, let's see, it scored about a 60% of the total available points. And then, well, actually it was 72 points out of 125. And then the number 14 project scored about 44 points. So it just, we felt as a staff team that it wasn't appropriate at this time to offer an award, but we will discuss with that applicant how they can maybe make improvements for the future grant rounds. So this is the distribution of those 13 projects as depicted on this map throughout the state. And again, the action requested here is approval of the ranking and distribution of small grant awards as recommended by the staff committee.
Thank you, Michelle. I appreciate you working with that last grant applicant who didn't quite make it. And the geographic distribution across the state is, again, awesome to see.
Yeah.
So thank you for all your hard work. Any comments or questions about the grants?
Just
Go ahead.
This is mostly for my education.
Sure.
Two things. What's the tipping point between the small and the large grant program? What's the dollar amount?
Oh, small grant requests are for projects for requesting up to 100,000. So the total project cost can be, anything, but what the request has to be a maximum of 100,000.
Okay.
Anything over that is in the large grant category. The large grant category is capped at $1 million.
And do both programs have similar match requirements?
Yes, they have the same match requirements, and we have different levels of match, 20, 40, and 50.
And just real quick, because I'm just really educating myself. I really appreciate myself.
Thanks for the question.
So are you using like a grant management program like Fondit or something of that sort? I mean, how, because I know it's really, really difficult to manage.
Yes, it is very difficult. And actually, I have been here 28 years and long enough to have done these all on paper. And some of you have seen me locked in a room with boxes and stacks of paper. We do have a wonderful developer team, software developer team at OPRD. And so our grant system was developed in-house and works along with our OPER system. And Commissioner Spence may be able to speak to that a little bit, but yeah, it's working really well. And it's a huge improvement from the days of paper. And I think just with the increase in interest in these programs, I don't know how we would manage it without such a system.
Thank you very much.
Just added kudos that it's the best. I mean, I've got state grants from 4 separate state agencies, and state parks is, I don't know why they just don't all use it, because it's, the others are terrible.
That's great feedback.
Just
No, awesome.
Chair Hill, I have a question.
Please go
You said
ahead.
this program's been around like 25 years or something like that?
The software program or the grant
The
program?
grant.
Okay, yes, Commissioner Condor, the grant program has been around, I think it began in 1999. I think we did our first awards in 2000, which I wasn't with the grants team, but I was with the agency then. But yeah, it's.
And when was that $100,000 grant, that mark set between small and large?
Yeah, so originally, good question, Commissioner Condor. It was originally set at 75,000. We did some rulemaking a couple of years ago. I don't know the exact date, but recently we did rulemaking and increased that. We did rulemaking in anticipation of the trigger of the increase of funds. And so we, one, increased the large grant cap from 750,000 to $1 million. And then at the same time, increased the cap from 75,000 to 100,000. And really, this is our first couple of years seeing how that works. And, we'll continue to look at that and see if it makes sense, because we set aside a certain percent of funding for the small grants and the planning grants, but we don't quite get that many requests, that what we could set aside for small grants. So we then move that into the large grant or planning grant category if we don't have enough requests to fund them all. But typically that puts us in a situation where we are able to fund all the small grant requests if they score well enough against the criteria.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good questions. Any other questions or comments before we vote on this? Okay, I would entertain a motion to award funds as they are available, as detailed on the attached spreadsheet for the small grants, the local government grant program, small grants.
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Condor. Do I have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Izumi with the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed? No. Seeing none, so approved.
Thank you. Okay, if you're not tired of me yet, Commissioner Hill, Director Sumption, members of the commission, again, Michelle Scalise, presenting item 6D, the local government grant planning grant recommendations. So the staff committee does score these planning grant requests, and we met via Teams on August 15th, and we had a total request for 10 projects for $450,000. We did have the full $450,000 available, and all 10 projects were recommended for funding. And here's a detail of where the distribution of these planning grants will be throughout the state. And the total recommended is $1,101,673. And the action requested is approval of the ranking and distribution of planning grant awards as recommended by the staff committee.
Thank you, Michelle. All right. Any questions about the planning grants?
just more education. You want to talk about the population requirement? Is that this one?
Yeah, this is for small communities, and the population requirement varies from, counties and districts and then cities. And, yeah, it's only for small communities. And that's why, I think if we expanded this program to any size community, it would be a pretty popular program. We typically set aside about $300,000 for this program, but like I said, we did have enough funding this time from the small grant category to move over to planning and able to fund all of these, which is a great thing for us to do, because many times we'll have communities come to us and want to apply for the large or small grant categories. but they don't have a required planning document in place or haven't done the public input process. So we encourage them to apply for this planning grant first and then come back for the development grant.
It's just one more way. OPRD makes it more accessible for maybe underrepresented or smaller communities. It's great.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Spence.
Great comment. Any other questions or comments for Michelle before we vote on this? All right, seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
All right, so we are voting on, oh, I'll take a second.
Second.
Commissioner Perullo with the second. So we are voting on the ranking and distribution of planning grants as detailed in the attached spreadsheet. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anybody opposed, say no. Hearing none, so approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle, and your entire team for all the work on this and for working with communities on educating them around stuff
Thank
too.
you. I'll pass that on to staff.
All right, I think we had some technical difficulties before with one public commenter. So Katie, do we have that person available?
I'm here.
Oh, we can hear you.
Should I tell me when?
All right.
Are you ready?
Would you mind stating your name for the record and go ahead and speak up whenever you're ready. And we typically limit comments to 3 minutes. So go ahead whenever
Great.
you're ready.
Thank you for accommodating my technological failures. This is Chris Beck. I live in Southwest Portland near Tryon Creek. I've represented the Tryon neighborhoods in the state legislature a generation ago. This was a time when state parks was being cut, and I actually led the fight to establish Measure 66, which brought lottery funding to state parks back in 1998, and worked on that campaign to stabilize park funding. I still live near the park. I don't want to repeat the messages from the other folks. I agree with much of what they say. They're concerned about the $10 fee. What strikes me is that it's maybe might be wise to take a little pause and think about it a little bit and make sure that however some sort of parking regimen fee is instigated, that it's done in a way the community is ready for it. I don't think it's unreasonable to have some sort of parking fee at the park, but the $10 one size fit all for the whole state and Tryon may not make sense in this particular case. Maybe $1.50 or $2 for an hour or two, and then it somehow bumps up if you stay longer. I don't know how you'd administer that. Might be worth partnering with Metro or the city of Portland to piggyback on their existing parking fee mechanisms. People pay to park at the Japanese Garden. They can probably pay a little bit to park at Tryon too. And then in the course of doing this, make it really easy for people to do the 2-year or 1-year pass. That makes sense. So I think my perspective on this is maybe make sure the community is more involved and with a system that really applies in this somewhat unique situation, this urban park, so that people aren't just parking in the neighborhoods and on very dangerous Terwilliger Boulevard. So I would encourage you to maybe step back for 3 months, 6 months, and make sure that you have a system and the technology in place to make this easy, and so that there's not a kind of active pushback in the immediate months. That said, I've been involved with state parks funding for a long time, and I understand the challenges, and the legislature took some of your lottery money away for the state fair. At some point, I didn't like that. So I recognize your needs for revenue. I think we all do, and we all want to work with the department to find other ways to stabilize your funding, but parking can be a part of that too, even at Little Tryon Creek. So appreciate your support. And Rob Wagner, the Senate President, used to be my legislative aide. I'd love to work with Rob to help you all as well going forward. So thank you. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you, Mr. Beck, and thank you for your dedication to state parks over the decades and helping solve some of the challenges that we face. And we could certainly use your wisdom and expertise and connections moving forward. As I mentioned before, this is just a critically challenging time for us, and we're kind of at our wits' end about what we do to generate revenue so we do not have to close parks. And while a fee is one of the last things that we want to do for some of these day use areas, especially for communities in other parts of the state where there's higher low-income residencies, it's certainly something we don't want to do, but we really don't have a lot of other options. We do intend to have a kind of a soft entry into the $10 fee. I mean, our park rangers are going to be working with folks as they park to educate them about the fee as it moves forward. And so there will be a lot of education components around this, but this by no means is going to solve all of our problems. And so we would really appreciate continued conversations and communications with you about how we can solve some of this moving forward, so we're not in even bigger challenges.
I'll do what I can. I'd encourage you to start with a $3 fee and not start at 10 if there's a way to do that. Go light.
I wish I could. Yeah. Still in a budget deficit after that as well. So yeah, it's a hard one. It is very much a hard one. But hopefully it will encourage folks in the Tryon area to bike or walk or take public transportation as well into the park. But yeah, it's a tough one. But thank you for your comments. We are going to move
good
on
luck.
to the next. Thank you, Mr. Beck. The next portion of our agenda, which is the heritage section, and this is information. Ian, I see you in a tiny box up there.
Yes, I am in tiny box. Thank you very much. Good morning, Chair Hill.
Yep,
Yes.
we can hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, perfect. Thank you very much. Good morning, Chair Hill, Director Sumption, and members of the Oregon Parks and Recreation Commission. My name is Ian Johnson, and I am the Deputy State Historic Preservation Officer. I'm providing the staff report for Agenda Item 7A, the brief for the Heritage section, which includes the State Historic Preservation Office and the state's history and culture programs. The Heritage section supports the heritage community, preserve and share Oregon's cultural resources across the state by providing technical assistance, funding, and statewide leadership, education, and networking opportunities. When I was reviewing the brief, it struck me that there's a number of projects there that kind of highlight that approach. So I'd like to hit just a few of those and make some connections between them. Technical assistance for our many partners is an important part of our work. From July 2024 to June 2025, Mentor Corps supported 17 organizations statewide, providing mentors to assist the local staff with a variety of projects, including collections management, nonprofit governance, public outreach, records and collection digitization, and much more. In the same time, the program also provided workshops, Q&A sessions, and a conference session on disaster preparedness. Providing funding for local projects is also a big part of what we do as an agency as well. Between May and June, 4 grant programs awarded funding to preserve historic places and support the work of heritage organizations. Those grants come from these programs: the Historic Cemeteries Grant for the maintenance, preservation, and historic cemeteries, the Museum Grant for collections care, interpretation, and tourism projects, the Preserving Oregon Grant for the preservation of historic buildings and sites, also archaeological sites. An example is the project at Antelope School, which is pictured in your brief, and also the Diamonds in the Rough Grant, which is specifically for facade restoration. Oregon Heritage awarded 43 grants during this time for a total of $437,500. In addition to our broad outreach efforts, we also provide targeted opportunities for networking and education. Our upcoming Main Street Conference is an opportunity to bring together the leaders of Oregon's historic downtowns. Main Street is a national program that focuses on developing downtown develops communities through downtown investment, really focusing on their unique identity. The conference theme is dedicated to the long game. The conference will focus on sustaining Main Street programs and long-term community visioning. Notable events will include keynote speakers, workshop tours, and networking opportunities. Of course, you're all invited. There's more information in the brief and also on our website. This is not in your packet, but it occurred to me was something that you may all want to be aware of. Also in October, all 4 of the Oregon's Heritage Citizen Commissions will meet and can be. They'll be holding a joint opening meeting and their individual business meetings. These organizations or these committees that are meeting include the Oregon Heritage Commission, which provides statewide leadership and support for preserving Oregon's cultural resources. The Oregon Cemetery Commission, charged with the preservation of the state's historic cemeteries. The Historic Review Committee, which governs the state tax program. And the State Advisory Committee on Historic Preservation, which reviews nominations to the National Register of Historic Places, among other duties. The event will bring together these committees for an opportunity to share information, coordinate efforts, and work on larger shared initiatives. One of those larger shared initiatives will be, at the joint meeting, will be looking at the Oregon Heritage Commission's effort to update the statewide Oregon Heritage Plan. Our statewide plans are really important because they draw together the interests and strengths of our office with tribes, federal and state agencies, local jurisdictions. Did I just get cut off?